Now, the Harden situation is problematic. I don't know what they're going to do here with Harden. But more I read with fans' reaction is that you let your emotions get involved in what the greater good of the team is. You just can't give James Harden away. You want to trade him to the Clippers where he wants to go, and you're going to get back Joe Bag of Donuts and Norman Powell. That's not going to be good enough anyway. So people say, well, what are you going to do if he sits out? Well, if he sits out, he sits out. He only hurts himself. If you trade him for slop, you're not going to be good enough to win a championship anyway. So what's the difference if he sits out? It doesn't make any sense. He sits out, you're not going to win. He brings in a bad return, you're not going to win. So the Sixers are in the driver's seat here with James Harden. What does he have to lose? People are thinking that he can just sit out an entire year and go where he wants to go. Oh, no, no, no. He's still under contract. He is obligated to the Sixers for one more year. So if he sits out, he's not performing the contract. He's still Sixer property. He can't waste away that year by sitting out and wearing a fat suit. He's got to play to perform the contract to let that contract run out. So he can talk all the tough he wants. At the end of the day, he has to play the last year of this contract to be attractive to other teams that may want to sign him for another contract. So what does he gain by sitting out? He doesn't gain anything. Just like that, when the Sixers held fast with Ben Simmons, they weren't gaining because they didn't have a caliber a player like Simmons either in the lineup or to get in an exchange. And because they held out, they got a player that made them viable. So what's the difference here? What can James Harden do? I guess he can play. I guess he can gain weight. I guess he could be miserable and not play and the effectiveness to the point where it looks like he's throwing basketball games. And at that point, you'd have to deal with it. But how does he gain by doing that? Because other teams are looking at that too. And they go, geez, if I acquire that guy, will he do the same thing with me? He only wants to go to one team. So if it's not the Clippers, and it's not going to be the Clippers because they can't make a good enough deal to make the Sixers a contender, then where's it going to be? He's in no man's land. And I wish people would get to see this. Daryl Morey is a smart guy. He's got years to play with. He's not going to lose his job if he allows James Harden to sit out like he allowed Ben Simmons to sit out. Because smart fans know that unless you get a viable return for James Harden, it's just like you have Harden sitting out. You're not going to win anyway. So maybe this has to be the gap year. And maybe the Sixer fans have to eat that. As much as I hate to admit that, that's the games that front offices play. At the end of the day, they're going to do what's best for them. They're not going to let fans bully them into making a bad deal because James Harden is overweight. All right, so there's the situation.